We do 2 shows every Saturday.
Wow.
You good? Okay. You recording both places, Jay?
Oh, I need to get in that.
Come on, guys! I gotta get out of here. Can you say that? All right, we're all good. We're missing our camera guy today, so we have no intros.
I'm not in the frame.
Oh, that was your Jay impression?
Yeah. We have
Useless.
What's that?
I said you did pretty good.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I'm not trying to block our guests. I'm cool.
That's all right.
So
No,
it's
I'm not about to block you. I'm cool.
Leonards.
Leonards, yeah, with an
Yeah,
S.
with an S.
Yeah, it's too low.
My first boss was Leonard. All right. Here we go.
Well, because you can move that a little bit, right? Or if whatever. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Not like anyone watches the YouTube.
Yeah,
Most of people download it. And
We have a
listen.
3-camera shoot, but not today. So, all
We
right.
don't have a 3-camera shooter. That's the problem.
Exactly.
We got the equipment. We just don't have the. We got
How
the
long have you
arrows.
been doing this? All right,
Two
how
and a
long?
half 2.5 years.
And it started just like this, or you've kind of grown?
Oh,
into
no.
it?
It took a while to get to this. Yeah.
This is nice.
All right, here we go. Welcome into the Recipe Podcast, Celebrity Secrets to a Successful Life. I'm your host, Chef Charles Carroll. What a great day, what a great show we have today. This is our Gourmet Club live show, and I hope that you, by the way, if you haven't stumbled onto our other show with our comedian A.D. Hodge, say hey, A.D., because they can't see you.
Hola.
There you
What's
go.
up, everybody?
And so that's the Unplugged. So the Recipe Unplugged, you have to search that one separately. So go do that and enjoy that show. That's a lot of fun. So we are in-house. We have a lot of people here today. We have full house. I just mentioned A.D. Hodge. Say hey again, A.D.
What's going on, everybody?
And we have Monica, or is it Jay? I can't. Who's it behind there? I can't even see. Can you see Aaron? Who's that?
No, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I don't think it's Jay.
And
It is Saturday morning, so Jay's probably still
Somebody with a
sleeping.
man bun. Somebody
Oh,
with a
you-
nice bun. With a bun in the back. No, this is not about me.
You know
I'm sorry.
what, Aaron? I got to stop in the show.
Oh.
Underneath the table, there's a box on it because we need to turn on Monica's mic. So
Oh, okay.
there's a switch
Yeah.
on
I got
that.
it right here. There we go.
Say something, Monica. Now you got your. No. Now it's to the right of you is a wireless lab. See, we're all high tech on these show here.
This is fancy.
Yeah. So is that on? You got to turn it on, and then we'll get to that
Well,
one.
if we take all this trouble now, Monica better say something during this podcast because we're gonna
So
turn on
Monica's
the
running
mic.
the show back there because Jay had something. He was busy today, and so he's doing that. So she's a real hero here. She's recording all over the place. And then we got Aaron on the show.
He had a prior commitment that he just realized this morning.
Exactly. Well, actually, it was late last night.
Oh,
so.
okay. All right. Oh, that's very. He's
Yeah.
improving.
Yeah.
He's
so
actually okay. Calling us the night before. I like this guy.
yeah, this is a side mic. So you doing all right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. So we have Aaron on because he's a really good eater. I say that all the time. So. Hey! Now you go. So then we have Chef Drake Leonards. How you doing, brother?
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey man, we appreciate you coming into the show, and yeah, super cool to take some time out. You've been busy?
Yeah, staying busy, get through the holidays, and
Yeah.
onto the, the weather's changing. Look, the spring is coming. Crawfish are starting to show up, and Mardi Gras right around the corner. And
Yeah,
here we
man.
go, spring. So it's full blast.
Your time of year, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So listen, before we get started, tell our audience a little bit about you.
So born and raised in Eunice, Louisiana, small town Louisiana. Cooked in New Orleans and New York and Europe, all around. About a year and a half ago, we opened a restaurant called Eunice here in Houston on Richmond and Buffalo Speedway, Greenway Plaza area, and have been just kind of working on that for the last 15, 16 months, right? And so just really trying to keep the soul of the food that I grew up with,
Yeah.
but also using some influences from kind of my travels throughout my life and throughout my kind of professional career, but also using Houston as, to me, Houston is kind of this new sort of what New Orleans was 1800, this new Creole port city where you're bringing people in from all over the world.
Yeah.
You have all these influences, but it's all still really tied back to that 150-mile radius from downtown Houston. You got the Mississippi River, right? Really,
Sure,
almost 180, 200 miles. You got the Galveston Bay. You got
Yeah.
Galveston. You got the Gulf of Mexico. You got the Hill Country, and you get up into Dallas. So
Yeah.
you got 4 different kind of regions that kind of are able to support the Houston food scene. But also you've got one of the most if not the most dynamic city in America.
Yeah.
As far as for influences, so it's kind of amazing to be here, honestly.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. And, I moved here 20 years ago, and back then I used to say that we were the best kept secret of food-wise because we had a half a dozen, 10, 12 restaurants that were just killing it, and no one kind of really knew about it, but they're amazing. And now, Jesus Christ, the food is so good in Houston.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, it is really good.
And all for me, and people say, what do you have to eat? But from high end to ethnic to mom and pop joints. I mean, from runs the gamut, right? And so that's the dynamic, I think, of Houston, that it's a great eating city because you can find whatever you want.
Yeah, copy that.
And whatever price range
Whatever
and
price,
whatever. Yeah, and that's the thing: the affordability, the authenticity, and just the ability to be able to move within to go to get something, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Well, listen, I have a ton of questions, so this show's going to fly by. But I noticed that you have to know one of my dear friends and mentors, Chef John Foltz.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a longtime friend and mentor for 30-something years. So
it's funny. I can go on. It's funny. We've met
Yeah.
in the last year a few times. But your name was one of the first that had ever come up as I went to school in Thibodaux, Louisiana, with Chef John Foltz, Randy Sheremy, and all these
Randy.
guys, right? And externships at River Oaks Country Club, Chef Charles Carroll. And we have another. So our story has intertwined for a long time.
Oh,
and I knew it from afar, and you probably didn't know it at all. But I got to New York City because I was going to do an ACF internship with Ed Leonard. Westchester Country Club.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I went up to Westchester, met some people, and then kind of had an opportunity to just be in New York City and work at Cafe Boulud for Daniel Boulud.
Yeah.
And so I didn't stay, but I had a couple, maybe 4 or 5 friends that did the apprenticeship at Westchester Country Club. And a lot of students from Nichols had spent some time up there, some summers and such, and I think some have come through your kitchen as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's funny because how small the world is. How you were at the top of your game, and I was just a small kid. No, not a small kid, but just a young cook in culinary school, trying to kind of figure out how would I get to from point A to make it. What would the next 20 years or 30 years of my career would look like, and your name came up 15, 20 years ago. So
neat.
that was kind of cool. And then to be able to see, I've actually, I don't even know if you know this, a girl that I hired the first day was finishing culinary school in Houston and had come through our kitchen and was looking to move on and had an opportunity, and I said, you should take that opportunity. At River Oaks Country Club.
Shit, we stole them from you?
No. She was. It was perfect. It was. I thought that you guys would really be able to help her take that first step. Right. And so I think in any business and kitchens or anything.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You depending on your level and what you want to learn.
Yeah.
Being in a certain establishment that doesn't teach that, then you do no good to yourself.
Yeah.
Learning, right? And so I said, hey, she said, I want to kind of have a round experience. She spent a year with me.
Yeah.
That she wanted to see something else, that she didn't know in what way she wanted to pursue the restaurant business for her career, right?
Okay.
And maybe there's nutrition, maybe there's sort of running a big, overseeing something. Maybe it's, so I said, this is a great place to see, right?
Cool.
To have multiple layers in one organization that you can see how it works.
Yeah. Oh, that's
because
super cool.
ultimately our restaurant is just one small unit in the whole grand scheme of things,
When you're in Houston, is there any reason to stay at a restaurant more than a year as a cook? I mean, when you have so many places opening up, so many things you can learn.
I think that it's all about what point of your career are you in and what are you trying to do, right? I think as a young cook, I think you're a year out of school. No, I think you should spend a year to 15 months to 2 years. I've kind of always done 2-year stints, but I think now things are even moving faster. So I think a year is a nice, especially to get depending on where you are and the building blocks, right? And so maybe it's a year or two at first, and then it becomes 2 years when you're on the cusp of becoming a sous chef,
That's
right?
right,
And you've been a tournant, worked all the stations, and you're like on the cusp, hey, that's where mentorship comes in, and you say, hey, something's going to open in 4 or 5 months, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
And we all think we're ready. I thought I was ready at 21. I was going to take on the world. And at 31, I still, we opened this, I was 31, and I'm 33 now, and I'm still, I mean, you're still just learning and growing every day.
Sure.
Something
But
new.
you feel like you're at your prime, though?
No.
You cutting into your prime?
Yeah, I think the cooking part, I've been very fortunate. I'll say this. I was thinking about this earlier. I've been thinking about this a lot. And at this point, I think we're 15 months in. I'm trying to really self-reflect and, okay, what is the next step? But it's not about me anymore. What is the next step for all the people that have helped me get here, right? We've
That's
got a whole
growth right
team.
there.
We got a whole team of people that supported my dream, that helped me create what my vision and my dream, turn my dream into reality. They did that for me. And now, what can I do? How do I help them get there?
Yeah.
Right.
And I believe that, for me, I am the only person that can be detrimental to myself.
Yeah.
As always.
But if I'm going to be successful, then there's a lot of people that are going to help me get there.
Yeah, copy that.
Right, and so it's all. Defeat is only myself, but success means everybody has to help support.
Can I rob you real quick?
Go ahead, bro.
So I just have 2 questions, and one is the first one is a silly question. Has there ever been a time?
You are a comedian. So
I am.
We'll give you that.
Appreciate that. Appreciate my disclaimer. So the first question is: has anybody ever gotten wild when, a waiter says, "Oh, Chef Drake is making the order for you real quick"? Has anybody gotten wild here and there, just thinking that you were the real Drake?
Oh no, this is a true story.
Do you listen to Drake?
I hear it on the radio. I try to, honestly, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and most of the time when I'm in my truck, I use it to make phone calls. That's like pipe it through the thing and bust out your phone calls. This is a true story. I have a friend named Will Smith. he's William Roger Smith III, and we call him Trey Smith, but I call him Trey, but Will Smith, he goes by Will Smith. He called and made a reservation for 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said Drake and Will Smith. And this was in Europe. We were European roommates. I lived in the Black Forest. And we got to this restaurant. And they were looking at the book, and they were not impressed. And they were like, "So this is a true story." And I mean, listen, I've never saw a face of defeat on someone's face. I think they were all waiting, thought somebody important was showing up, and it was just us. And so, anyway, that's the only time that
that is hilarious.
it's happened, honestly. But
What's your second question?
Oh, the second question was by comedy and just hearing your journey, by comedy being such like a vouch system, and it's our world being really small, and just hearing how he's saying your world is small. Would you consider being a chef or going around the cooking industry a vouch system as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it starts with, again, where I think go back to what I said. The only person that can create failure is yourself,
right?
And that's part of it, the vouch system, right? And so we have never worked together, but we know 5 people that have, and those 5 people have told me, Charles Carroll, he'll take care of you, and hopefully they've said maybe the same about me and say, hey Drake, he works hard. Maybe he's not the best or not the best cook or young. You know what I mean? When you're coming up through the ranks, but hey, what do you look for when you take on someone to come into your system? Look, you show up on time, you work hard. We can teach you the rest. And that's in comedy, that's in business, that's in life.
That's crazy.
Right?
I mean, just to hear that, it's just crazy.
God, bro, you have no idea. I could spend a whole show, and I'm not because I want to dig into your story, but I could spend a whole freaking show. And Monica's in my office, so she can tell you. I spend an hour and a half every day on the hiring shit that's going on right now. Is just ridiculous, and talking to young people. So I really would like to have a show on that, just teaching young people what I think or what we think, how they should act and how they. If I get
like how to do a resume.
Right.
It's pretty bad.
We've been saving resumes for a show because they're so ridiculous.
Wow.
What was your favorite one? What are your strengths?
Oh yeah, and he was like,
My strengths are limitless.
No, he was like, I don't want to talk about my skills because they is limitless.
They
Is
is
limitless.
limited. Why you didn't say
Yeah.
this on the first show? No, it's not about us right now.
Yeah.
This is about Drake.
So anyway, but
Sounds all right.
I want to.
Well, Drake, did you work in Bavaria? Is that where you were?
In the Black Forest.
So, because I've heard of a few like really good chefs who've worked in that part of Germany, but I don't really think of Germany as being like a culinary place, and that's because I don't really know much. Like I think, okay, the restaurants are in Spain, they're in France, but I don't know of too many restaurants in Houston where somebody says, hey, we're gonna do Black Forest cuisine or Western Germany cuisine or whatever, right? So why is that? Like, so in other words, number one, what do you learn in that part of the world that you wouldn't learn from France or Spain?
Or why did you target Germany?
Yeah, and then why would you go there? And then why don't we see more of that in Houston? Like people saying, hey, I'm going to make a restaurant that's inspired by that style.
Yeah. For me, it's funny because going back to culinary school in Nichols and growing up in Louisiana, right, you have these 6-7 countries that made up Louisiana and the food that we kind of all come known to, grown to love. So I went to first stop in New York, very French, right?
Right.
Then had an opportunity to go to Europe and in Germany. And so, it was 15 miles from the French-German border, 20 or kilometers.
Gotcha.
But, and so this family, 150-year hotel, Munstertal, small village. I mean, literally, not even a city, a village. 2,000 people, not even, maybe 1,000 people, 1,200 people, on the base at the base of the Black Forest, at the base of the mountains, heading north. You'd be going in, and then heading south into France.
Mm-hmm.
Would be going down, and so at that right in where the Alsatian wine, sort of right there, and so. Worked for a family, and what I learned was just reinforcement of the way that I was kind of raised, and not just myself, but just the way that these small town Louisiana operated, right? So we had and still have. When I go home, what do you think about when you go down I-10? You got the boudin stop, right? You got to stop and get your boudin. You got to get your sausage, your cracklings.
The cracklings, yeah.
Okay, so we all talk about farm to table, and it's this movement, and I was just at the farmers market earlier to grab some stuff for the restaurant. But we've been doing that our whole lives, right? You had the smoked sausage, and we would go get the bread at the little bakery, and
Cracklins.
it was get cracklins
Cracklins
on
are the truth,
on
man.
Saturday morning, and somebody had eggs, and my dad always had it, and not only my dad, everybody's family always had a little tomato plant, some cucumbers in the summer, some peppers, all that stuff. And so what I saw in Germany in the Black Forest, the chef, Mr. Fuchs, Carl Josef Fuchs, made his own cheese, right? Boar and venison were brought to the restaurant, and there it's illegal to hunt and then to sell it to the to the restaurants. So every morning I lived on the little property. It was a hotel, I say a hotel, but it was a really nice kind of hotel spa. Really nice place.
I feel like you just downplayed that a little bit, but we can continue. Like, look, what?
No, but in the European sense, where so many people would come to vacation, you had the nature. People would come in from the big cities all over.
Right.
Spend a week, spend 10 days, right? Pool, a lot of nature, a lot of hiking. And
Well,
all that stuff.
I do
So
think
beautiful.
I do think
garden
that that the craft of boucherie or the butchering and obviously sausage making and that kind of earthiness of foundation of cooking is so much stronger in Europe, and especially Germany, and not so much in U.S. Right?
And I've been checking out your menu for a while. That's why I keep looking at my phone, because I'm like, oh, this do look real good and different. Like
But-
this culture you got is different.
Have you, by the chance, have you ever heard of Johann Laffer in Germany? Johann
Yes.
Laffer, yeah, he's a Michelin chef, and he's like the major superstar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to do some work with him, and super nice guy.
Wow,
and,
yeah.
really really cool. I mean, he's got an empire.
Yeah.
Helicopters and mansions and
Wow,
all kinds
yeah.
of shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so tell us a little bit more about Daniel Boulud and that experience there. How was that?
It was amazing being in New York at that time and working with, it was 2008, 2009. And what I saw in that organization is that the colleagues, my peers, were the ones pushing me the most, right?
Yeah.
And so I was surrounded by so many,
Culinarians.
just live, eat, breathe, cooking and food and technique, and what are you reading? And it didn't come from the top.
Yeah.
The culture was such that it came from the bottom up.
That's
Right?
huge.
But that was the worst one. You had guys that are crazy talented, ran off and have Michelin stars and running opening restaurants all over the country. And so that was what I saw. If I always thought to myself, if we could build a culture that comes from within, and build, then we'll have something, right? It was the cooks pushing the cooks. Right, and the sous chefs and the cooks really working in collaboration. Gavin Kaysen was the chef at that time, and
Now, was that a stage, or were you?
No, it was 2 years. Yeah, I worked there 2 years.
You were getting paid.
Yeah.
So how'd you get your foot in the door?
Very. I get paid not very well. But, through a connection, through a phone call. Someone knew someone. I was, like I said, I was gonna maybe go up. I kind of wanted to go to New York. I didn't know why. I just thought that was maybe the epicenter. Didn't know how I was gonna get in. Thought that maybe I'd start up in Westchester, and I went up there and did a stage and
With Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
and I knew some folks from
So was
college. That
was Moose there? Was Moose?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
So I'd email back and forth with him.
He just got his master's a year ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Master Chef. He
Wow.
passed. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, good guy.
Amazing. Yeah, I've been married a girl from.
I think he did. Yeah. Yeah.
But so anyway, so then got in. So then had a chance to get into New York City, and then had a roommate. My roommate was a guy that went to Nichols as well. We all lived together for a short, for 2 years, or a year and a half, and so that was the thing. Working in those kitchens were just an amazing time for me. We were all kind of young, and like I said, just cooking and growing, and everything revolved, and it was just an open door, right? I'd come from Thibodaux, Louisiana, to New York City. I mean, you talk about eye-opening. Right, and being exposed to so many different things, and just learning about life, learning how to navigate, get around. The iPhone was just starting to come out, but I mean, read a map, be on a subway, really just learn to live, learn just things. You learn about yourself, you learn about how you can mentally push yourself to continue to go when it's hard, right? And it's always hard, and life's hard. Life. For me, it was just, and it still is. This is all just. Whether it's in the business or in life, it's all very similar. Yeah. Right. It's difficult. It's not easy.
I was just listening to something yesterday that was talking about. They're talking about all the famous artists or the bands or the Aerosmiths or the Def Leppard or whatever it is. When you get into a conversation with these people, they don't talk about when they were playing Wrigley Field. They talk about when they were rooming with that dude in New York City in a room that was smaller than this, and how they were grinding, because those were the memories of building it. That's the shit that was important to them, not after they already made it and made the millions, right? So that's a cool part of what.
No, I was gonna let you finish your statement, and then I was gonna go into it.
No, go ahead.
What it just very kind of eye opening for me is that we're all artists in this, but our stories are different. I mean, for you, it's like nobody in that apartment probably went hungry, but I just want to know, like, just the differences on how y'all critiqued each other, how you guys were in talking about each other's presentations, the presentations of the plate and or, what you were serving. And that's another thing I was kind of interested in. Like, what do you like about your cooking process? Because I know one time Chef Carol brought up, what do I like about writing comedy, or how do I go about my comedy process, and what do I like the most about it? So I'm trying to figure it out from you, like, what do you like to do, or what's your favorite part about cooking your food? Yeah. And I never asked you that, Chef. I don't know. I ain't never asked you that.
Well, we're gonna make it about the guest today.
We're gonna make it about the guest today.
No, I want to know about him as well. No, I think for me, so with all that travel you take, and so what is this restaurant? And I think you gotta have multiple concepts and do a bunch of different things, right? So kind of I only have one singular small little restaurant, right? And so what is we always look at it, and with our team, we always talk about this as we're kind of going into spring, right, and building new things. And so what are the rules that we didn't set rules for ourselves. I don't want to be in a box. Okay. but it has to have some strain of continuum that you say, hey, it can tie back. It comes back. So for me, it has to tie back to Louisiana, to Texas, right? Because we're here.
Right.
Louisiana, because that's the roots
Right.
and the soul and the authenticity. But what is authenticity?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like it's authentic because like all three, our team, chef team, all grew up in Louisiana
Right.
or have Louisiana roots
Okay.
from New Orleans to from all across, right? And but some worked in Europe, some worked in Israel. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a kind of a vast sense of, and one is from Texas, so we have a little vast sense of kind of landscape in a way in which we can all relate, and so it kind of has to tie back to some of that. In Louisiana, in a sense, that is it crawfish? Okay, then that's Louisiana.
Yeah, it makes sense. You have a foundation, right? So you have
Well,
a
I think it's
foundation.
what people have come to expect from that restaurant.
Yeah. Well, it's good to put it into words like that, and that you need to start with that. Those three things or those foundations are pretty cool to make sure you stay true to yourself and true to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Even Louisiana isn't one thing, right? It's
Not
like
at all.
you
No.
had the Sicilian immigrants who came bring the
So the
muffalata
Seven
sandwiches.
Nations.
Seven
I mean,
Nations,
That's the thing.
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you've got all this. So it has to come from one of those seven. So when I say that, it has to Louisiana. It's a wide range of things.
So when you say 7-8, is Vietnam considered one of those? Because
No.
I know Viet Cajun is like a big thing.
Well, not in the original 1700s, but that to me would be New Orleans.
Okay.
Right? Would be definitely the Vietnamese are huge, a large population in New Orleans, a lot here in Houston, but up and down the coast because they're fishermen, they're shrimpers, right? They sustain our waterways. They're the ones that we're buying our shrimp from off the boat in Port Arthur, right? And so that has been an influence on the food here as well. And so now I say Texas and I say Houston as this kind of new Creole port city,
Right.
not just for the Italians and the Spanish and the French, but now the Vietnamese and the Chinese and African nations. I mean, you get all sort of new, new people coming from not the original New Orleans kind of port city of the Seven Nations, but these new nations, Mexico, coming in, right? So you have some Mexican influence in the food here, and
you do.
that's like really kind of been cool to me. You know, we do a crispy quail dish at the restaurant, and so it's bandera quail, done kind of in the style of fried chicken,
Yeah.
and so with a little extra. I mean,
That sounds different. I just like the fusion, how he just, because it does make sense. I've seen how an Italian restaurant become non-traditional, and they will put a certain sauce in there that remind you of a different type of place. That is something that's just different. That's why I'm just letting you expand, and I'm just shutting up and being wowed.
Well, let's talk about. I want to get
Wow.
into how you get your move here, but before I do that, but did you guys know that there's like every joke in Louisiana is based on two guys? Am I right?
No, I haven't heard that.
Do you know that?
I
What's
don't
up?
have any good ones. Boudreaux and Thibodeau.
I love it. I swear to God, man. I every year I go back to New Orleans. I do a gig with John.
Yeah.
And it was a fundraiser for Sister Dulcie. So every year, and it's the most amazing time. I mean, I've been doing it for years and years and years, and that's a whole nother story. But every year we go there and we listen to these frickin' jokes of Boudreaux and
Boudreaux and Thibodeau.
Thibodeau.
Yeah.
And so every joke, no matter what it is, there's always these two guys. And it's really good. Anyway, that's a side deal for you. So what I want to get into is some nuts and bolts. Because we have a lot of listeners, a shit ton of listeners all over the world from World Chefs Society and everything else. So of how to get started in everybody, if you ask a young person, what do you want to do? Well, I want to have my own place. Like, it seems like everybody says that. But it's almost, it's very, very difficult to do. A, B, get financing and get started. And then once all that happens, if you're lucky enough for all that to happen, and then survive past a year, right? Yeah. So let's start. How was it that you got to Houston? And then how did you get started? Do you have a partner? And what was that draw?
Yeah, and so Houston, after kind of being in those cities, traveling and all that stuff, my wife's from the New Orleans area, and I was in New Orleans for back in New Orleans, and I wanted to be in a major city that the food this food that we're cooking at Eunice would translate.
Copy that. Yes.
So
Makes
when
sense.
you think about that, but I wanted to be close to home, and I didn't want to lose my ability to see my family, for my kid, my son, to see his grandparents, and so Houston. I mean, it literally checked all the boxes,
Sure,
right?
makes sense.
And there's so many Houstonians with Louisiana roots, and there's so many people. You know, we're very fortunate to see. Last night we had some good friends in town that people come here to do business, for vacation, to go to games. I mean, we see a lot of friends of ours that we grew up with that come to Houston to do things. So
Like a pipeline from LSU to Houston.
yeah,
Straight here.
so
Straight
many,
here,
right?
yeah.
And so many friends. When we were talking about maybe moving, my wife had a bunch of friends that she went to college with, and had. So it just kind of all made sense that we would.
So you pick Houston, then what? What's your next step?
So picked Houston, and you got to find a place, right? And so find a space, and we had looked for spaces for a while, and then we kind of found this space with the under the oak trees at Richmond, the corner of Richmond and Buffalo, where we are now, and it just felt like Eunice. The space kind of, I think for me, the space would dictate what exactly the restaurant would become.
Not too many
right?
trees
And
downtown.
That's it. No, yeah. And so, 26 of these big, beautiful oak trees, 26, 28-foot ceiling, kind of glass open. You felt as though you're right in the middle of town, but you felt like you set back. Mm-hmm. And so it just felt to me like it would be a place that we could create this sort of Louisiana influence, very much an influence of Louisiana restaurant, in this major city, right in the middle of a thriving business and housing. I mean, the same community that that you run your business in.
Yeah, sure.
And so it just felt right, and so we wanted to keep it airy and light. I think the food, traditionally, people think of Louisiana food as heavy and really rich, and so we tried to use the space to keep it, to lighten up the food that you would think would be so heavy. So so then you start building, right? And we had a lot of Hurricane Harvey.
All right, I'm back up now. Do you have a partner?
I do.
Okay, so is it?
I have a whole a group, yeah.
A group.
It's a group, yeah.
Okay, so how did you stumble onto that? How did you meet with the group, or how did you get the group, or how did you get the backing?
Yeah. I worked for back in New Orleans. I worked for a company, and they were looking to expand.
Okay.
So it was
So you approached them in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, there was an opportunity. They had an opportunity to expand, and markets are coming, and
Cool.
and so.
So then this space was there anything in there prior to? Did you have to? I'm sure you probably had to totally renovate it all out.
Yeah, no, it was a new build. It was a complete new build. So there was nothing in the building.
Okay.
So I mean, put in the hoods, everything. I mean, literally designed the space. It was just a white box, square box.
Yeah.
And so
You had your way with it, basically.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, you had your way with the
Yeah,
space,
I
basically.
mean, you start to really be able to see and start to lay it out, and I mean, start to build budgets. And
So
and
how many
start to
seats? How many seats in the restaurant?
110, 120.
Now, if you're comfortable, say as much as you can say. What do you need to get started? How much do you need to get that started for the renovation to like? And then you got to budget out. I got to protect myself for 3-4 months to make sure that, because we're not going to make money right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So how do you get started?
Well, I mean, and so it's funny because I've got multiple friends now. Everybody's kind of a lot of these cooks that I worked with all over the country are going through it. I think it can be as little or as much as whatever the space demands, right? And so this was a new build, a big space, and so it was more costly because we started with nothing, no HVAC, no hoods, no. I mean, so literally the plumbing.
Yeah.
Everything from the ground up, so that's a little more costly to start.
Yeah.
It's
good
a
and bad,
bigger,
right?
It's great, but it's a high. It's the front end costs are way more than if you started with some of that, right? And so if you found a second generation space, we call them, then it's a little easier. You need a little less money, right? And so a little less, and then when you start to build things happen that sometimes can lengthen the process or go through the process, so you learn about permitting and how things just take time.
But probably the group helps you out there because they had experience in what you needed to do legally and
yeah.
shit.
So I mean, I think anybody will tell you the first thing you probably need someone to help you legally and someone to help you with the money, right? So when a CPA or an accountant and an attorney are probably, to start any business, or two of your two people that you probably need. I mean, I would think, right? You've started businesses too, and tell me if you don't think that's true.
No, absolutely,
I think that legal, and you sign contracts. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into getting a business like that off the ground. You really build something that you hope really can last a long time, right? And it's hard, and you've seen a lot of people. And sometimes they go really good for a couple years, and then what happens? So I mean, it's a big investment, and it's a lot. It's a lot financially. It's a lot to put yourself out there, right? Whether the menu, whether it's the way you kind of design it, whether it's the way you ask for financing, whether you go to the bank or you have investors, or I mean, either way, you really put yourself on the line.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I mean, I think you got to think about, ultimately, what if it doesn't work out? What happens as well? I think you have to protect yourself.
Was you looking for a number, chef?
No, but I know if he doesn't want to talk about it, that's fine. But I'm just trying to help people along, like how what do I need to get started?
If you have to ask, you probably can't afford it, right?
Well, no, because we had that too. But we had an amazing conversation with Charles Clark when he first got started, and that was were you here for that show?
No, the Clark Cooper thing.
No,
the concepts?
well, no. But when he first get started, I'll forward you the show because it's super cool to listen to. How they started on a whim and how they got turned down by
so many people.
So many people, and then they started on a handshake. So, but that's but now you're
and it works. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's so many ways to be able to do it, and this started kind of on a over. Yeah, it's all talk, and then until it starts to get down to the nitty gritty, know. And I think a lot of things, and that's what I said earlier. When you can be your own enemy, but if you're going to be successful, it takes a lot of people to help you get there.
But it looks like you're over the hump, though. You've been there almost 2 years, right?
15, 16 months now, 18 months, and
so you can breathe.
Yeah, listen, I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by so many good people.
Yeah,
and I think that, the when you come to a new city, or you work with, you never worked with people before.
Yeah.
Right? And so to hire 70 people that you've never spent any time with to get everyone to work together to produce a consistent product takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I think for me and what I learned through my journey was that you relish in that. That's fun. I mean, it's fun to. It's like a kid. I think it takes a lot of work, but you see it grow and you see it change and you see it evolve, and you sit back at some point and say, hey, that's pretty neat.
Well, what keeps you up at night now?
Just knowing that this is only the beginning for me.
Yeah, sure.
I'm 33 years old. I do this for another 30 years.
Yeah.
And how do you continue to do it? How do you continue to do it on a high level? Hopefully we're doing it on a high level. And how do you continue to do right by the people that believe in you? How do you continue to do right by the people that, again, like I said earlier, put their life on hold to help you achieve your dream?
Yeah.
Right.
And how do you make sure that you continue to give back and to help those same people with whatever that may be, and support them in whatever they want to do? Because I think as you grow older, your dreams and aspirations change.
Yeah.
And I can't say, hey, that's not going to work. I mean, you have to be supportive and say, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to help you make this work, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going forward. I think that's, if I can do that and help people the way I've been helped all along the way, and not even help just in generosity, just in taking me in, whether it was a kitchen in New York City or whether it was somewhere in the Black Forest in Germany, or whether someone's home in Louisiana, or whether I've always been very fortunate to to have been given an opportunity.
That's a
you
beautiful
know?
part about our business, isn't it? Is we're in the hospitality business.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. So if we have a brother coming in town, we take care of him. You know, you stay at my house. You want to come in and play, stage at our whatever. That's the cool part of what we do.
One thing that I was wondering, going back to Chef's point though about opening a place, is that, for example, there are restaurants, like I was at a restaurant yesterday that basically their business model was when they opened 5 years ago, they had a really great deal on the rent. It was a really great location, but their rent was really, they had a build out and the rent was really low. And it was sort of like the restaurant had an expiry date on it. It was like, all right, we're going to have this fantastic deal on rent for 5 years, and then we just have to get out. We're done.
That's happened a few times here in Houston.
And it's not so much that the restaurant failed or anything. It's that their business model was built upon this idea that the rent was going to be below market, and so they could survive that way and thrive that way. But in general, I noticed that for several great chefs around the country, they put a sort of an expiry date on their restaurant. Like, okay, we're going to do this for 5 years. We're going to close down and then do something else somewhere else. Have you ever thought about it like that? Like that certain things,
I think now, I think I've done more thinking. So up to this point,
it's scary shit what you just said, but
it's very true. But I think now that and like for the evolution and the growth for me personally, it was only about the bomb puree. It was only about braising the beef. It was only about cooking.
Yeah.
And so that was like the only thing. Like if we just cook, if we cook the best, if we're the best chef, if we cook the best, the people will come. Well, because of what you're saying, neighborhood rents, all of these things, it's not just about that anymore, right? It's become, if you're going to sustain in this business, you've got to have some business. You've got to think about the business. And so I think as a young chef, but I think going back to it, I think that if you have to have those skills, you have to be exposed when you're young, or at some point you're young in your career, to great chefs and work in great kitchens and try to be in the best kitchens you can at all costs, because they will help you learn that skill set that you do need. You have to have it. I think you've probably been around a lot of great chefs that didn't make it in the business, but you've never been around a lot of bad chefs that made it that far.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that you have to have the you have to be able to cook well and run a kitchen.
And that's what to your point, Aaron. Some examples that I know of here in Houston, Charles Clark. They're closing up one of their restaurants.
Ibiza?
Ibiza, and also the Pass and Provisions. And there was another one, Robert Del Grande, when he moved out of next to Specs there, that was Taco Milagro, yeah.
Okay.
So what happened to I'm getting off beat here.
No, you good.
But what happened was, so these, they go into the place, and they have a 10-year rent, and people would say, I need to get somebody in that building, right? And food's a good one that draws people in and helps the rest of the development to bring people in. So they give them a good rent, and then that rent comes up, and then they say, okay, now it's going to be this. And now the chef's going to say, fuck, I can't afford that. And
doubles or triples.
Yeah, and it doesn't make the business, they just,
Can't double or triple the food.
So now,
That's true.
So now, we're selling a cup of coffee the same price we were 10 years ago. That price ain't changed too much, right? Or a cup of soup. So what happens now is the chef has to make a decision. Do I have to move? And now when they move, like Cafe Annie, that was before your time. Cafe Annie used to be True Foods. Didn't even exist on Post Oak. Cafe Annie used to be down there. So when they get up and move that brand, that thing that people loved, that they loved sitting at that table and that whatever, and they move it literally 500 yards down the road, now it's different. Well, I don't know about this. Well, it's different. The food's different. And the chef's, he's changed. So now you lose some of that amazing tradition, those amazing followers. So it's a pretty cool point you bring up, Aaron. That it's hard being us.
Damn, I didn't even know that. I learned something new.
No,
today.
because when you go to move, that people are weird, and if they're warm fuzzy, that they come in and sit at the same table all the time, and now the china's different, the table's different. Of course, you want to recreate something because you're the chef. You want to, okay, this is our next thing, I don't know if I should say this on air, but I think Benji's that was on Washington.
Yep.
That place used to rock, right?
Right.
And it was a great hangout for like at 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock. I mean, they would get a crowd in there, a young crowd, and they would have tapas and all these. And
It's been gone for a while now.
well, they still own it, but they
Okay.
call it classic or something. They still own it, but they said, you know what? Okay, we've been doing this for a while. It's time we're gonna totally renovate the whole thing, and now you could. It's quiet.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. With saying, I'll just use you as an example since you're here. But Eunice is there for 5 years, and it kicks out, and you leave it at a good point, and then downtown you open up like Drake's, whatever, bar and grill.
You should be doing that, by the way.
Steakhouse
Drake's
or
would be
whatever.
pretty cool.
Yeah, Drake
That would be live.
steak and chops or something.
Yeah.
And then that has like an 8-year run
be
or whatever,
live.
and then you
That'd be
you're
woke.
slowly evolving and changing, keeping things interesting for you.
Yeah, but I think going back, but like so, B's at an 18 or 20 year run. I mean,
Yeah,
that,
man.
That spawned.
Yeah.
I mean, what has become.
Right.
These guys are.
He's super cool, man. Try.
They're the Louisiana boy, by the way.
All right, he's super cool. he's a great guy. So, if you guys don't have any other questions,
I have one more
All right.
question, and this can go to you too, Chef. Have you ever, as far not just saying expansion, but just for like the fun of cooking and any of something? I mean, for the fun of cooking. Have you ever thought about just saying, bump it? I'm gonna go ahead and give me a nice little food truck, and I'm gonna sell cups of gumbo, or I'm gonna sell cups of etouffee, or a bowl of rice, Cajun rice, or something like that. Have you ever just thought about that? Just roam through Midtown, downtown.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Have like a Eunice Juniors or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think you're always thinking about what is next and what there's
Yeah.
opportunities out there, and how does it affect. How can it help or hinder what you do in the business? How does the business grow and expand, and how does it help the people that work in the business?
Right.
And so if somebody said, "Hey, I want to be in the food truck business," I think it's a great business to be in.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of expertise in the food truck business. That's the thing. I don't know how to run a food truck.
Right.
But if somebody said, "Hey, I really know how to run a food truck," I think that would be possible.
we could go watch the movie, and then when the chef was it called Chef?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Chef or
Where he's a chef, I think is what it's called, and he's a
or Burnt. No, it's Chef. Yeah, yeah.
chef, and
Yeah.
he travels around the country in a food truck just to sort of get himself back.
Yeah.
He loves restaurants, he loves food, he loves cooking, and then he just wants to do something. I think that's kind of what he was asking, what you were asking maybe was that you sort of you do this restaurant thing and it's sort of high profile or whatever, and you say, what, I just want to just go back to the basics,
To the roots,
I think about it all the time.
and focus on one or two things, and do them really well, and bring a lot of joy to people in on the street, like people who are coming up, between.
And it just sounded like it would
breaks
just make it fun again for y'all. It just sounded like something, because from what I heard, just thought your interview, and just both of y'all, because y'all share the same passion. It's not about the money. It's about making people feel good with the food to eat. I'm sorry to cut you short.
No, that's
my bad. But it just sounds like there's a lot of passion that you guys have, and just that movie idea. And I'm like, damn, what if Drake just say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and just sell gumbo on the street, just drive around selling gumbo bowls or something like that. I'm like, damn, that sounds pretty dope. Like, who wouldn't want a chicken and sausage real quick for about $5-7? You know what I mean?
you do make gumbo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got something. I read the menu the whole interview, so I know what he got.
So with that, Drake, what you're at home and your refrigerator is full of everything that is possible. What are you cooking for dinner?
If it's cold, the gumbo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You do.
I mean, I think for me, it all goes back to comfort and familiarity, and the things that I grew up with. I mean, that was commonplace at our house, and so for me, that what you talk about is the cooking of the gumbo in a food truck. I do that at home on Sundays. Like I still love. I think, and probably the same for you. I still love to cook at home. Like,
Yeah.
it's a whole different. Cooking in the restaurant that's work, not work in a sense, but that's at work, right?
That's at work.
That's you have to. It's what you got to do. Cooking at home, I still get the same feeling cooking at home today as I did maybe when I was, the joy that I saw my parents cook, and and there was always I kind of say, and hopefully what our restaurant has created is that I was very fortunate to grow up in a place that there was always a warm meal and something cold to drink, right? And it wasn't always fancy. It wasn't you know.
Yeah.
It was always delicious, but it wasn't over the top in the ingredients. But so hopefully that's what our restaurant can evoke in people. But that's also what I still like to do at home, right? I still have a family, my wife and my little boy, and we entertain at home, and we have friends over, and I love nothing more than to put a pot of red beans on. Or
they all show up, don't they? Those fuckers.
Yeah,
you invite people over for a little party. They all show up, but you never get invited to their house.
That's
right?
it.
You know what I mean?
You know what? For me though, I like having people in our home. I like to be at home.
Yeah.
And I like to have people over, and I feel comfortable there. And
everybody hangs out around the kitchen.
It's like it's relaxing. It doesn't matter how you have 50 people at home. It's a whole different. It's more work. Or as much work as anything you do during the week or normally, but it's there's something about it, about being at home and about entertaining your house and about being surrounded by the people that you know.
Well, one last thing. What's I know you're successful and it's really cool that you're going into your second year. But is there anything else on the soon horizon for you guys? Anything that you're...
I can't say that there is for sure because I mean there's nothing inked and we know how far and how close everything can be. Be on the edge of you think you're going to have something in 3 months and nothing happens. But I think I would definitely love to be able to grow and expand and see. I think that at some point we'll have to really think about it. But I mean, for me, this year is about really thinking about the things that we've done well, but also really more importantly about the things that we haven't done well.
Yeah.
Right, because we kind of know what we've done well and that it's helped us become successful, but if anything that we haven't done well, has that hindered us in any way?
Yeah.
And how do we be better? How do we get better that way?
Yeah.
Because we've been very fortunate to have a really fun 15 months, but there's some things that we haven't done well. I mean, it's just naturally happens.
Yeah, sure,
right?
sure,
So that's the
sure.
only thing.
Well, it's cool that you're focused on it, and then because a lot of people don't, right? So
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, congratulations on it. It's been super cool having you in, and Chef Drake Leonards, and we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, I would love to. I tell you what.
Yeah, and but before we go, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can online, the restaurant, the addresses. Go ahead and shout out all that.
Yeah, Eunice Restaurant, Houston, corner of Richmond and Buffalo Speedway, Greenway Plaza, EuniceRestaurant.com, Instagram, Eunice Restaurant.
Very great menu, by the way.
And I think I'm Drake Leonards at Instagram.
And by the way, you have a show coming up too. You forgot to tell everybody.
I did. I forgot to tell us on the Unplugged edition. Yes, Club Adore, Valentine's Day. Y'all pull up. It's off Richmond. I don't know the address, but it's off Richmond. Not in Richmond, off Richmond, around the Galleria area. Club Adore, the Wild Ass Comedy Show featuring me, A.D. Hodge. Pull up, $10 a ticket, very cheap. Come get some jokes before you start rubbing on that butt.
So Valentine's Day, that means you have to bring the date or what?
We could be two single ladies that just, it could be anybody. Okay. Bring your friend, your thigh, the side piece, whatever. We gonna get them laughing. This is the family version of your podcast. I'm sorry. Bring your friend, your loved one, the pen pal, your lover's lover, and just come get some laughs, baby.
What about you, Aaron? Anything you want to remind everybody about before we?
I don't really have anything to promote necessarily.
But we're working on Aaron's. We're working on Aaron's warm up. So he's working on a set. Yeah. So maybe you guys can get together on that. And we've done a show in here on a Monday night, and we had about 30 people, 25 people, pizza and beers and wines, and we had another comedian. But we're gonna have to hook that all up.
We definitely will.
And then you're gonna have to work on your opening.
Yeah,
your opening set.
Put something together.
Yeah, so we'll have to work on it. So, all right, Chef Drake, thanks for coming in, brother.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for all making it happen. Monica, thanks for making it happen. I also want to, again, quick shout out to our sponsors, the Scarface School of Culinary Arts. Thank you for trusting us with the show. And also Ricardo at Aceway. If you need something clean, I don't care if it's an office building or a kitchen, he's an amazing guy, attention to detail, and just a really, really special guy. And he makes our kitchens super clean. So thank you guys for helping us. And remember, you're especially great. Get off your ass and do something today. See you next time.
Peace.